Hey, everybody, it's Mike Watson. So glad to be back with our Common Things, Uncommon Ways podcast series. This is episode number 11. Can't believe I've spent a minute since I did an episode and I had to do another episode. I had just a really, really neat experience. It triggered a lot of emotion and belief and remembrance and inspiration in me, and I wanted to share it with you. This is going to be a podcast about legacy. What is your legacy? Do you know what your legacy is going to be? How cool would it be to be able to write your legacy in advance of achieving it? So to give you the background on this, I do real estate development, as many of you know. I've done projects in a lot of places, and I had a chance to find an opportunity to do an apartment complex in Moab, Grand County, which is in the southeastern corner of Utah. And it is an unbelievable area, but it's super, super hard to get apartments there, harder than most places I've ever been. The residents there just don't want apartments, and there's a dearth of housing, and many of the employees don't have a place to live. And worse, some of the businesses want to expand and grow. A lot of them do, but they can't hire employees because there's nowhere for those guys to live. So I went down there. We have an apartment complex with financing being a little more difficult than normal. We decided to go down. I decided to go down, and I wanted to walk the project. I wanted to walk the street. I said, I'm going to go down there and beat the streets. I don't like being told no. I don't like financial groups telling me this isn't a valid project. I've just not found the right people yet. So I decided I'm going to go beat the streets. I'm going to go door to door. I'm going to visit face-to-face every financial institution. I'm going to go walk the projects that are in construction. I'm going to meet the general contractors. I'm going to talk to prominent businessmen. We're going to figure this thing out. If I have to force my way and will my way through this, we're going to figure things out. Oh, little did I remember, I got on Airbnb to find a place to stay, and up popped on the first line a unit that was available for lease, an Airbnb, in a place called Rim Village. And my heart leapt. I'm like, I know I have to go down there and do this. I know I have to go down there to figure this out. And seeing Rim Village as the first option as a rental down there made me so excited. The reason is, I had developed Rim Village. I was a part of the Rim Village team. 25 years ago, we finished a project down in Grand County, just south of the Moab city line, a few miles south there. It was 26 fourplexes, 104 townhomes, or 4 units each. They're about 1,700 square feet each, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage. And it was amazing to see it. We sold the first unit down there for $175,000. There's units now selling for close to $700,000 and some close to $800,000 are listed. And unbelievable to see the growth. But I'll tell you what, it's something else to walk a project that you finished over 20 years ago. And some of you guys are saying, oh, you can only do that because you're old. And I say, that's not true. That's not true. I did that. It was one of the bigger projects that I did when I was younger, for sure. And I'm not super old, but that's a long time ago. Anyways, I'll ask you, do you have a project that you could walk from 25 years ago? No, you do not. And some of you, again, would respond and say, well, that's just a function of age. Well, that's true. But do you have a project or a legacy asset or some type of monument like that you've created that you could go back and visit and remember all of the things that you did to make that happen, to make it work? So it was interesting because I found this piece of property, went down there and stayed, and I took a day, the first part of a day, I should say, and I walked the project. I walked all the streets. I walked the outsides of the buildings. I walked the project. It was part of my daily 10,000 steps that I'm doing. It's one of the things that I'm doing to work out. But unbelievable response there emotionally to see my project and to see how good it looked this far later. And you always wonder how your product's going to hold up. But I'll tell you, after 25 years to see that project in that place, I got to tell you, it was almost a spiritual experience. It's almost a spiritual experience. It had all these memories flooding back to me. And then the voices started kicking into, you can do this. And it didn't mean this project again, but I remember from this project how hard it was. I remember how much opposition there was in the community. I remember how much opposition there was at the county. I remember how much opposition there was from lenders who didn't believe in Moab. Moab's a tough place to get financing because some of the local financial institutions are not big enough to handle the projects, and the national guys just don't understand the complexity of Moab. It's a 5,600 person town. So it's not a big town, but it can average 40,000 visitors a day. So you have this massive visitation of people from all over the world. There was a couple of elevator rides that I rode on when I stayed at a hotel at the end of the week. And I couldn't tell you what people were saying on the elevator. I couldn't tell you what language they were speaking, even though I'm fluent in Spanish and I know parts of other languages. Couldn't tell you what language it was, but it's a worldwide destination. The Sliff Rock down there, that Red Rock is just unbelievable. The biking, the mountain climbing, the jeeping, the river rafting. It's a mecca for people all around the world. So to go back down there and remember what I accomplished, and more important than that, was to remember the odds that were stacked against us. To remember the odds, the things we had to fight through. And I thought to myself, man, it's taken me 20 years to find an apartment complex. After the finish of this other project, I've wanted to do an apartment complex down there for this long. I finally get my hands on one with a partnership group that we're helping and leading. And then the financing becomes impossible. And it's not just a function of the market right now. It's also a function of how difficult people's outside perception is of Moab. And I said to myself down there this week, I'm going to will my way. I'm going to find a way. I'm going to create a legacy. Again, this Rim Village project. If you want to see it, hop on Google Maps, put in Rim Village, Moab, Utah, and crawl it. Get on the street and crawl it. And it is a really, really cool place. But it got me thinking, I'm going to have to put together a master plan with the force and the excitement and the enthusiasm that we needed back 25 years ago on that project. It has been such a hit, by the way. Everywhere I went in town, I introduced myself and said, hey, I'm with Summa Terra Ventures, but do you know Rim Village? Do you know Rim Village in the area? And everyone knew Rim Village. Everyone's like, oh yeah, we love that place. And oh, people have come from all over the world to stay there. So Rim Village was a hit, and I was the Rim Village guy. And it got me in a lot of doors, by the way, this thing that I did 25 years ago. And I took that excitement, that enthusiasm, that inspiration, a little bit of pride, not in the proud sense, but the sense of we did that. We fought through that. We stayed the course. We got through it. That's a legacy. And then I started asking myself a harder question. What's my legacy going to be on this next project? What am I going to do to will my way into an unbelievable result, just like the one that we got on the original Rim Village? And I got thinking bigger than that. I always try to think bigger. What's the bigger context? Like, yeah, I want to have a successful project down in Moab. I want to have a successful apartment complex. We have 119 units. There are an amalgam of studios, 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms. There's 3 buildings, 2 42 plexes and a 36 plex. One of the units we'll use for a property management / amenity space. The pool, beautiful place. We're capitalizing right now. Unbelievable location. Super, super impressive. It'll fill right up. And we believe our rents, while they're strong, are very, very conservative, given the fact that there's literally no place for workforce housing. So what's the legacy going to be? What am I going to do to be able to look back on this in 5, 10, 15, 20 years and have the same level of enthusiasm and inspiration and excitement and happiness and contentedness and even pride for getting this project across the finish line? And it got me thinking, what do we do to create our legacies? This was almost a legacy by accident. I literally am down on a project. I found out about this project years ago. It looked like a fantastic project, and we went after it. And we fought and we fought and we fought. And I did this because back then, when I was younger, some of you guys had listened to some of my other podcasts. I'm really wired to go against what people tell me that I can't do. And so many people were opposed to this original project that I had to do it. I had to do it. No one is going to tell me what I can and can't do. No one will tell me that. So fast forward till now, I started asking myself, how do you create your own legacy? What's your legacy going to be? So I wanted to run through some points of some things that we're doing to get this project off the ground, because it's going to be another legacy asset. We've literally referred to this as a legacy asset. Look, there's a lot of apartment complexes that I do that they're great assets. We don't do any of them if they're not fantastic. But there's some that rise above that to what we refer to as a legacy asset. And this is a legacy asset for us, and we want to keep it long term. So let's go through a series of questions that ask you, how can you create a legacy for yourself in advance? You don't have to wait 25 years to formulate and crystallize and see so clearly a vision that you can create what it is you want to become. And I believe that a lot of people get lost in who they are and what they want to become, and then accomplishing that because they haven't learned to see clearly enough what it is they want. And they haven't learned to see that end in mind so powerfully that it will drive them to success. It will drive them to relationships. It will drive them to innovation, to inspiration, to opportunity, to knocking on doors, to the point where, listen, I'm a pretty busy guy, right? I have a lot of people that depend on us, that look for us, and where there's leadership of a lot of assets with a lot of worth and values. And so for me, I literally took 6 days off to go down and focus on this one asset. It was that important to me. My partners in that deal are that important to me. So I'm going to go down there, no matter what it takes, no matter what I have to do, I'm going to get after this and I'm going to figure it out. And so, but the bigger picture, let's go back to this. So this original project, Rim Village, was a legacy asset to me. And even though we sold it, I hate myself for selling those units. Can you imagine if you owned 106 or 104 units that were worth 175,000, 200,000 then, and now they're selling for 700K ish or more? Unbelievable growth over that period of time. That's what real estate does for you. And if you're not in real estate, gotta get in touch with us. There's some really cool things that you could do there. But again, what are you going to do for 25 years from now? What do you want to do to create that legacy so clearly that you're going to pursue it no matter what? Now, I've done a lot of training and coaching and things over the years, and I've been around a lot of other trainers. I've shared the stage with many of the who's who of national trainers and guys that have written books and offered things, and many of them practice vision boards. I do not believe in vision boards. A vision board is where you take a board, and if you want a house in Italy and you want a Lamborghini and you want whatever, right? Your ski chalet, you put it up on your wall, and then you look at these things that you're going to get. And I don't think that works. I think it's backwards. The ski chalet, the Lamborghini, the home in Italy are a result of what you should be pursuing. They're not the goal. They're the result. The goal should be much higher than that. Things and possessions and money and bank accounts will not get you where you want to go. Personal improvement, personal change, personal accountability, and spending that time with yourself to find out what is it that I have to do? Who is it I have to meet? What relationships do I have to create? Where do I have to go? What do I have to learn? Who do I need to get mentored from? Those are the things that get you to your legacy. And then the result of your legacy are the things that really don't have a lot of value anyways. Money-wise, sure, but intrinsically, no value there. So I don't want you to create a vision board with those types of things. I want you to think in that term, though. And if you could say, okay, if everything goes right, I'm going to buy a Lamborghini. And that's not me. That might be you, and good for you. If that makes you work hard, good for you. But for me, it's a legacy board. What is going to be my legacy? What is going to be my legacy? And I get people all the time. Listen, I've got trainings coming up all the time. People call me and say, hey, I'm going to be a developer. I'm going to build apartment complexes. I'm going to do mixed-use projects. I'm going to do strip malls. I want to do storage facilities. Teach me how to do that. And I want to do townhomes. I want to do residential construction or residential projects where you take a piece of land and subdivide it into 100 lots. I want to do that, and I want that to be my legacy. Well, they can't see the result. And that's a tough skill to learn. We're going to talk about that. You know, we here at Summa Terra Ventures typically will put a piece of property under contract, we'll entitle it over, and it will take literally up to 270 to 300 days to close. We get all of the upfront paperwork done, and you can literally see, if you're trained, you can see these amazing projects, but on paper. You can see how the site's going to lay out. You can see what the third parties look like. You can see the ingresses and egress, the access. You can see the architecture on the buildings. You can see it on paper. And because you've been around it so many times and you've had so many of these buildings come to life right in front of you, you can start to see the vision instead of just looking on a piece of paper or a vision board. You can literally start to see these projects come to life right before you. So unbelievable option to learn how to do that. And that's taking some skills and talents. But I tell you what, I learned how to do this at a fairly young age. And this is one of the drivers for me of creating a legacy board, creating a vision so powerful that you have to pursue it. You have no other option but to pursue it, no matter what it takes. So you have to decide what your legacy is going to look like. I would challenge you as an action item. Write down what you want to have accomplished, not what you want to own, not what you want to drive. Write down what you want to have accomplished in 20 years. Go to the end and write the beautiful ending of your story and come backwards. And then what are the steps? You wrote chapter 20 at the finish of a great novel. You could then go to the front, knowing with the end in mind. Writing that book might be a different book. I'd love to talk to some authors. I've written some books, but none of them have been in that kind of drama or that nonfiction. They're all real estate investing books. But I'll tell you what, if with the end in mind and the end that clear, gosh, you probably write a different book, right? Along the way. The meaning along the way would have a different value and give you a different impetus if you knew exactly where you were going to end up. So take a look. What do you want the result of your career to be 20 years from now? What do you want to achieve? What do you want to be able to say? What projects do you want to get in your car and go drive and walk through? Because I'll tell you what, I don't want to be hyperbolic, but it was almost spiritual to me. It was inspirational to me. It left me aghast. Why am I not visiting projects that I did a long time ago more often and more frequently? There's something sacred about taking on a project and being told no at every corner and having people say this isn't going to work and it's not good for our community. And this long later, going back and seeing not only was it amazing for the community, there's multiple projects right behind it that kind of copied what we tried to do. And still, none of them. I met with a realtor down there and I told him I did Rim Village. And he was like, oh my goodness, if you did another 1,000 units for Rim Village, I could sell them so quickly. That those were the best units. I'd take those over any other units in the valley. And I tell you what, I just smiled inside. That the layout, the floor plan, the way you structured them, everything was perfect for what works down here in Moab and Grand County. So unbelievable. Get clear on what your future is, and then let's come back to the present and work towards it. So make it crystal clear. Make it to where there is no doubt in what you're going to do and who you're going to become. And that's kind of the chicken and the egg there first, is it's not what you know, it's what are you prepared to do and what are you willing to become? Because I look now and I don't say to myself after 20 years walking a project like that, look at all the things that I know now. Look at all the things that I've been through. Look at all the stuff I've learned. I say, look at the person that I've become. And I can remember myself from 25 years ago. And there's parts of that in this, by the way. I was a fairly young guy for doing a project like that. And I'm not super old now, but there's a difference. And I'll tell you what, as you age, you rely more on your history, wisdom, experience, and all the lessons you've learned. When you're younger, man, a lot of it is more about ambition, drive, energy, guts, enthusiasm. And there's a lot of traits that this brought back to me that I needed to get this other project in Moab off the ground. We're close. So you got to have that. So wherever you're at on your genesis of career, whether it's you're young and unabashedly aggressive and you don't have any fear because you've not lost anything yet, you haven't been hurt enough times yet to really understand what fear and loss is. And that's a great start. That's a great way to get to all the other things that you want to possess, which is wisdom, history, experiences, knowledge, relationships. Gosh, some people say it's not what you know, it's who you know. And there's places for that too. So you have to combine the crystal clear vision of what you want your legacy to be, and then write down what's your skill set now. And if it's all enthusiasm, excitement, passion, that can work too. I've been there. I've done that. I've had to live through that. I've had to get the first couple of breakthroughs where people would take me seriously. I know what that's like. I know what that feels like. Or if you're further along, you've got some wisdom and experience and education. Those are great things, but you have to have a detailed, real, scathing assessment of yourself right now. And what am I lacking? Now, once you know what your dream is, what your skill set is, that's your tool bag. then you have to go find another batch of people. And I want you to write this down. You have to go find the people that lack what it is that you lack. Like, for example, back then, I couldn't take down massive mortgages. I just couldn't do it. And for many people, gosh, if I wanted to do 104 townhomes, and I would say by the time we finished all the phasing there, they ended up being around $350,000. That probably ended up being a $25, $30 million project, which some of you think is big, right? Today, by today's standards. But if you do that project now, that's an $80, $85 million project if you start that project today. So I couldn't sign those mortgages. I had to go find someone that would sign mortgages with me. I had to give people the interest level to be a guarantor on construction loans. We had the ground, we had the great layout, we had all the plans, we had the third-party testing, we had the right team in place, and then we needed some financial support, which that's different now. I don't always need that, right? We have more financial capabilities now than we did way back then. So who are the people that you're lacking? And one of the things I like to say is whatever it is you think you're lacking, you don't lack that. If you think you lack money, you don't lack money, you lack guts. If you think you don't lack relationships, you don't lack relationship, you lack guts. You lack the ability to open your mouth and speak. If you don't know anyone, you don't lack the lack. There's not a lack of relationships. There's a lack of drive for you to get out and meet the right people. If you don't know what you're doing, it's not that you're dumb or inexperienced. You just lack the drive and the passion to go find the right people and the right information. That's how legacies are created. That's how legacies are built, is getting that started and getting those contacts in place. So it's all going to come down to people, training, and partners. What training do you need to get to wherever it is you want to go? And listen, if you're watching this podcast, you don't have to be a real estate developer. Yes, you don't even have to be in real estate. What is it that you want to go do and become? And not every one of us can be Bill Gates, for example, and create a company that is the cutting edge of new that doesn't exist. I mean, for me, I can create new real estate developments that no one else has done, but I'm not necessarily reinventing the wheel by doing my own subdivision in my own way. That will was already there. That idea was already there. That premise was there. So your own legacy is going to have a little bit of a different path. Whether you're charting a course that literally is new technology, new computer space, new whatever it is, that might be different than a guy like me who, I'm going to go find and create new buildings and new assets and new partnerships and new opportunities for wealth and retirement. But still, all of these things are necessary. So where are you going to get the training? Where are you going to get the capital? Where are you going to get the education? And where are you going to get the right partners? And the beginning of that starts with drive. I remember back to those days, one of the things that I thought was I was so young. I was so young. And even worse, you guys have heard in these other podcasts, I looked a lot younger than I was. So everywhere I went, people questioned me, people doubted me. And it was beautiful. It was a beautiful thing. All you had to do is tell me I couldn't do something and I was going to do it. You can tell from episodes 9 and 10 with Jordan Farr. And that gear, he and I refer to it as that gear. Why don't you have that gear? Why don't you have that gear? Where's that gear for you to kick you past scared, to kick you past the lack of faith, to kick you past that empty feeling in your stomach and turn that into guts and action? Where's that gear for you? Where's that trigger for you? But if you find the right people, the right training, the right partners, that'll get you on the right pathway. And then there's one other key component that I have to tell you about. I try to be a religious person, and oftentimes people, the more religious they say they are, the more you wonder, are they religious at all? I guess religion isn't necessarily a thing that you carry around and blurt out like a trumpet. But I'll tell you what, I had a spiritual experience this week. Being down there, I said to myself, here's what I said, and I'm being blatantly honest, blatantly transparent. I've done all these deals. I've been in all these cities. I've had massive successes. I've had some harrowing difficulties and losses too over the 31 years of my career. Yet nothing is ever fully perfect 100% of the time. But I sat there walking this beautiful subdivision and I said, Lord, I figured this out. And I know your hand was in this. I know so much of it came from you. And I'm having trouble with my new project down here. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be doing. I know I'm supposed to do it. I know it's amazing. I know it's unbelievable. It's going to be a fantastic project. We've got unbelievable partners on it. I've got to figure out what it is, what's the missing element. Now, for me in my life, when I run into obstacles or difficulties that I can't get past, I pray for I refer to as a drop of grace. And I literally said this prayer, if I could wax so bold as to share it with you, I said to the Lord in prayer, listen, beautiful project, unbelievable location, legacy asset, even better partners, and we're stumbling on financing. Every time we turn around, they want more money. There's not a whole bunch of private capital in the market right now. There's not enough. There's private capital, but it's not flowing like it was years ago. What am I missing here? And I said, Father, I know with the level of intelligence that I can't even comprehend that the solution to this is nothing to you. The solution, 1,000 solutions are nothing to you. Your knowledge, and I said, I'm just trying my best here. This is worth doing. It's a great project. Can you send me a drop of grace? Can you touch? I love that picture of the Lord reaching down and the fingers, touching in. I believe Michelangelo did it. That picture of Adam and the Lord, and unbelievable artwork. Can you reach down into my life through inspiration and give me a drop of grace? I know you know how to figure this out. I know you know how to finish this out. Can you share that with me, please? I'm begging you, please. And this was this morning, by the way. And I immediately had a thought, oh my goodness, I know what I'm supposed to do. I know what I'm supposed to do. I know who I'm supposed to call. I know it's going to work out. I had already had an appointment scheduled with a gentleman and his wife this afternoon. And it became crystal clear what I was supposed to ask for in this appointment. And it was a different course, we had charted a different course than we had planned that would work for the local banks, for the national banks. It's a way to get this financed and bring more great partners in. And even better than that, it's a chance to bring a phase 2 and or a phase 3 to the same project. And I said to myself, gosh, where's that guts, that swashbuckling, go big or go home attitude? Sometimes you rely, when you get a little experience, you rely on your education, your intellect, your experience, instead of saying, Lord, please send me a drop of grace. Send me a drop of grace. And I came up with a new slogan today. Don't go big, go bigger. Don't go big, go bigger. If you want to create your legacy, that's what you're going to do. And anyways, I had this little path painted out in front of me, and I went and met with these guys this afternoon that already was on the schedule, by the way, from earlier this week. I felt inspired to call them and set a meeting with them. They're tied into the Moab scene down there. And I said, I have got to meet these guys, and I'm going to figure out somehow the solution involves them. I don't know what the solution is, but I feel it. I'm inspired. I took the step. I took the steps of the inspiration I was given when I was given them, and more inspiration was given to me later. So I met with them this afternoon, and unbelievably, but yet believably, I laid out this different plan, a different course, completely different set of actions on not going big, go bigger. And they loved it. They loved it. They need to go home this weekend and think about it. But it's going to trigger. I gave them 3 options. Option 1 was the reason I called the meeting in the first place. Option 2 was a better option that helped us a little bit. Then option 3 was they're all in with other assets and abilities and benefits for the project. They're all in. They're in 100%. And they're in a way that none of the other partners are. So there'll be a commensurate response to that. And I said, so what do you think? Which one of those are better for you? And they said, well, the option that we thought we were coming for here just doesn't look very appealing anymore. The middle option where we put more in and get more looks fantastic. But I think the best option is the last one where we're all in. And we have this option to create prosperity on multiple projects, on multiple properties, on multiple layers, on multiple phases. We're going to go home and talk about it. But I think that's the route we want to go. Go big. Don't go big. Go bigger. Don't go big. Go bigger. And I just sat there and basked in gratitude for the Lord. I tell you what, I prayed hard this morning. I know that the solution to this issue is nothing to you, nothing in the sense, not that it's not important to him that his son is not successful and all of his sons and daughters that are partners in this deal are not successful. The solution, the idea, the intellect of the solution. And I got to tell you, the solution was not that difficult. It just was an amalgam of things that I'd done before, presented in a different way that allowed me to really, really set the table for a different experience. And the funny thing was the confirmation for me was these guys, when I called them Tuesday to set the meeting for today, they said, we figured we were going to come in and talk about that first option, but we've always wanted to do option B and C, especially option C or 2 or 3. And we just didn't know necessarily how to put the pieces together. So this makes so much sense. It's almost as if they were being prepared for me to present this option when I finally got humble enough to ask the Lord for a drop of grace. Drop of grace. That's what we're looking for here in this life, drops of grace. We get to try our best. We have to fight our hardest, and we run into obstacles that we can't get around, over or under. And we got to show our might in our effort. And we got to try and we got to do a mighty effort. And then if they're righteous things that are positive, that will benefit others, then we can pray for and receive inspiration. And the whole point of this is this will be a legacy asset. We are going to do this. We're going to figure this out. And one day, 20 years from now, I'll walk that asset and I'll be as proud about it as I was of the other project that we did in Moab. But the point here is this: you can't get there alone. You've got to create the legacy. You've got to envision it and make it so clear that you get there. Then you have to get the right people around you, because no matter how smart you are, no matter how talented you are, you need teams. You need leverage. You need systems, people, property, capital, teams. You need that leverage. And then lastly, when you're not smart enough, or there's a roadblock in the way that you just can't overcome on your own, you need a drop of grace. And that's how we create legacy. So that the more, I'll tell you, the ability for you to create and build the legacy that you want is going to be as proportional. It will be very proportional to your willingness to build that legacy now in your mind, chase it with as much leverage as you can, and pray for drops of grace along the way. And it will happen for you. That legacy will become a reality. We'll catch you on the other side.